Well, hello, online friends. It is so good to be with you for another episode. I don't know about you, but despite the fact that February is a short month, I got all kinds of stuff done. I touched all kinds of whips and worked on all kinds of projects, and I am excited to show those to you in this episode. So we've got cross stitch, we've got crochet, we've got Lego, book talk. I did a class on paper quilling, which was really fun. So all kinds of different stuff to talk about. But before I launch into it, I did want to say welcome to the new subscribers. I did pick up a number of new subscribers during my recent Whip Parade. So thank you so much for watching and checking out the channel and supporting it. So I hope that you continue to enjoy what you see. And if you are new this time as the first time, my name is Deborah. This channel is Kensington Creates. And here we talk about all kinds of creative pursuits, whether that is crafts or reading, other hobbies, things that help us just disconnect from the rest of the world and enjoy a chance to be creative, work with our hands, and do all kinds of things. So different content for you each video. Well, I think with that, I will just launch right in. I mentioned that I am amazed how much I got done in the last few weeks. I just kind of got a little bit of a crafty bug, and I worked on a lot of different things too. So lots to show you. But I should start with what is, I think, my biggest finish ever, which is just fantastic. I am excited to show you a new piece that I finished week and a half ago or something like that. So this is a piece that I stitched maybe a little over a year ago is when I finished it, and I have turned it into this very large decorative pillow. I'll show you a little bit more about that in just a second, but if you are joining me or new, this is the pattern that I was working on. It is by Picota, which is an Italian designer, and the design is called Mouton, Doux, which I believe kind of the phrase I believe translates into the gentle sheepall dance or the little sheepall dance. And I have always really loved the motion of this scene and the happiness of the sheep. And even though it is such simple colors and such simple lines, I feel like it has such movement in it, which I really enjoy. And this came as a complete kit. So it does have some fabric inside. It came with the DMC, but I've talked about this on a couple of occasions. When I saw this piece, I really envisioned it as something quite large, like a really striking piece that would hang on the wall. And so I was able to find some fabric, which is Tula. It's a 10 count Tula, and I stitched it over two. So it was functionally kind of a 5 count, if you think of it that way. And I had this lovely green color, which I thought would go well with the colors in that were called for in the threads. And so I wound up stitching just half of the design. I had originally planned to do both as two separate but connected wall hangings, but it was kind of a pain to stitch, I will say that. And so I decided to finish it just as this piece. I do have everything I need if I want to stitch the second one at some point, so I am going to hold on to those and think about it. But for now, I felt like this was a finish. And so I have talked in a couple of recent videos about how I have joined a UFO club. So there's a local quilting store that is near me. That would be why it was local. And they have a UFO club that you can join. And what it does is you list 12 projects that you would like to fully finish or get some sort of like step of finishing done in the year. And then each month they draw a number randomly, and that's the project that you work on for the month. And so this was my February number that got called, and I was so excited when this came out because it's been one that I have been wanting to finish and actually get out in the house for a while. I just hadn't gotten the fully finishing done. So when I spoke with you last time, or in my whip parade, I think, I said that I was planning to turn it into a wall hanging, and I was going to be using this mini charm pack of fabric that I had picked up. And as I was working on it, I got partway through it and I decided that, you know what, this would actually be a really great large decorative pillow. I have a couple of these in the house hanging around. And so I kind of changed my mind mid project. And that meant I had picked up this fabric, the blue fabric, just at on a shopping spree recently, and I thought, oh, that's perfect, but I didn't quite have enough. So fortunately, I was going to a quilting store within days of this, and they had the fabric as well. So I was able to pick up a little more of the fabric and finish it as a pillow. And it's so squishy because the original pillow that I was refinishing had this very squishy interior, and so I was able to reuse all of that. And so it's just so lovely and soft. And on the back, I have, if you can see, I've just done very simple quilting lines, a crosshatch look on the back. And then we have our pillow on the front. And I really liked this fabric. I kind of was thinking about it because I had these little farmhouse squares, and there was one that specifically has sheep on it. Here, when I was actually pulling them out and sorting them, they were more farmy, like very openly farmish than I had realized. So like, I do love this goat that is completely just judging you, and a couple of other fabrics, and so I think it does go, but I am glad that I've got the blue to enhance it and tone it down a little bit, so it really brings the attention back to the sheep, which was of course always the purpose of this piece. So I I really could just sit here and just hold this because it's just so soft and squishy. But I was really pleased with this, how this came out. I wasn't sure kind of as I was working on it when I first put the fabric, just the charm squares around. I was like, not so sure about this. But I think that the blue just ties everything together and makes it so vibrant. And so I am excited to have this done. I have successfully finished both of my projects for both January and February for the UFO Club, which that's the whole point of having joined, is to encourage myself to finish some of these projects. And the fact that I am just so pleased with this really tickles me. I cannot wait to put this on the bed and have it there as a decorative pillow. So it's been kind of sitting here for the last week or so as I was knew I was getting ready to film, and I didn't want to forget that I was going to show it to you. But now I'm excited to actually put it in place and have it kind of as part of my decor. So that was my super large, very squishy finish for this month. I also did work on a couple of other cross stitch pieces this month as well. So one of those was a project that I showed you in my last video. It's a new series by Roz Clark of Roz Clark Craft. She is releasing a weekly free stitch along this year. That's called the Stitch Quilt Sal. And what it is one piece is released every week for 26 weeks. There will be 26 of them, obviously, and that is related to the alphabet. And so each week we get the next letter in the alphabet, just a very small piece to work on. And the intention is that you can finish them as hexagons, as using a quilt as you go technique. So each one can be fully finished as a single piece. And if you want to, you can sew them together or make a larger piece out of them. You could just stitch one or a few of them, however you would choose to do that. And so I've been very faithfully collecting those and working on those each week. So I have a couple to show you. I believe when I showed this to you last, I was partway through my A. And so I did fully finish, I finished it. I did not fully finish that piece. And so it says A for apple. I apologize. I'm using some Vicky Clayton silks, which are lovely to work with, but they of course don't pick up the vibrancy of the dye in the same way that a cotton might, and so they're a little faint, but I think in person they come across really, really well, but on camera not quite so much. So this was our excuse me, our A for apple piece. So that was the first one that we worked on. The following week was one that I really loved. I love all of them, but I really enjoyed this one. We have B for bees. And what I like about this stitch along, in addition to the fact that they're very small pieces so you can get something accomplished very quickly, these usually take just a couple of hours of stitching when you're working on them, but it's also intended to be a scrap buster. So if you have leftover pieces of fabric that you want to use, if you have leftover threads that you want to use, for example, you can do that. And so I really have been kind of just pulling out pieces of 36 count is the called for, although you can do it on other sizes as well. Just pulling that out and working on it. So far each one has been a different fabric. And then for C, we had C's for colors. I really enjoy this one. It was fun to kind of work on this one and pull the colors throughout the piece as you were working on it. So I enjoyed that one. And then I am a little bit behind this week. I have not completed my D section, but I did get it started. So we've got D for dandelion, and we've got, we'll have a flower over here, and then we'll have the fluffy dandelion, and then our letters down here. So again, it's a really quick piece, so something I'll be able to finish up pretty quickly and then get on to the next few letters. Roz has shown some previews on, I think it was her Flosstube, about the next few letters that are coming up, and they are all everyone just makes me more excited. I think that they're just it's such a great series. I enjoy stitching it. And so I've been so appreciative of Roz releasing this. It's a lot of work that she's been doing, and it's a great series. So if you have any interest, I'll link it in the description box, and you can pull it up. But I know we'd love to have other people stitching along with it as well. So that was my stitch quilt Sal that I have been working on. I also have a start and finish, so a piece that I completed actually in one day as well, and that is, let me show you here, I worked on Pop of Winter by Bent Creek, and this is one of their zipper kits, and they have been releasing this series for a couple of years at this point. There are multiple different thematic ones. There's one for, it's got all hearts for Valentine's Day. There's one that's all like little duckies, like rubber duckies kind of thing. It's a spring. There's a patriotic one, which I really enjoy. There is a really cute one for Thanksgiving, and it's mostly corn with one little turkey in there. So there are a couple of others that I would really like to stitch, but this I think was the first one that I picked up, and I loved that little snowman. Like Bent Creek does such good snowmen, and I really just I couldn't resist the pattern because of that little snowman. But what I did decide is rather than stitching with the fence and making it a tree, I just wanted it to be a circular piece. And so that was how I finished it. It's a kit, so it came with all of the pearl cotton. And so here is my completed piece. It does come with 20 count linen, so it's quite large. You stitch it using pearl cotton and just such fantastic colors. And so all I did was I took out one of the snowflakes and I put the snowman inside of it. And I thought it actually worked pretty much perfectly in terms of spacing and whatnot. So I am just so pleased with this piece. It is so bright and cheerful. This is the kind of winter piece that you want to see when it is gloomy and snowy outside and you're starting to get a little bit tired of the winter. Um, I love winter. I mean, part of the reason I came to New England is because I love four seasons and I wanted that, but you do get to a point where you're like, okay, now I'm ready for the next season. But I think this one is going to be just such a cheerful piece to have in the house moving forward with those colors. So, and I think I stitched this, like I said, in one day. It was a very, very quick stitch. In terms of finishing it, part of the reason I decided to go with the circle is because I thought that that would give me some options rather than having it as the rectangle. I'm also trying to make use of the things that I've picked up to do finishing over the last couple of years. I went on a spree where I just would see something in a store and be like, oh, that'd be great for finishing. That'd be great for finishing. And I need to actually finish things on them. And so I am trying to consciously sort of shop my stash when I am thinking about finishing rather than going out and getting something new, or if there is something that would work, that's going to be how I finish it because it will allow me to make use of some things that I have in my collection at this point. So I went through, did my shopping the other day, and I rediscovered this little piece that I had picked up, oh, at Kohl's or something, and it's just a very simple wooden frame. And I really liked, I thought it was just a cute, I thought it would be just a great thing that you could mount a piece inside. This Marion Bright is a little raised, so if you wanted to, you could have the piece kind of lifted off a little bit. I thought about that initially and making it a circle, but at the moment I'm leaning toward just finishing it as a rectangle. and having it fill the entire box, in part because I think that I would like to at least stitch, I think, at least 2 more of these in the series. I don't think I'm going to do all of them, but that way I could easily swap them out. And so I think that that would work in terms of having the circle within the square. I think it would work to do that, but if you feel differently, let me know. Like if you think it should have a rectangle and then the circle that just pops out, let me know in the comments. I think it will be interesting to hear what people think about that. But at the moment, like I said, I'm leaning toward just finishing it as, actually, what I would plan to do is I would do a rectangle covered with some sort of fabric, and then I would have this as a circle on top of it, but the whole thing would lift in and out. That was what I was kind of thinking. But if you have other suggestions, let me know. But I think that'll work, and it will make me feel a little bit better to know that I am putting to use something that I had purchased, and real for exactly a reason like this, and so I should take advantage of it and do that. So that was Pop of Winter by Ben Creek. And that, I think, I actually had 2 other pieces that I worked on, but honestly, my progress was so little, it didn't seem worth showing you because you wouldn't be able to tell. It was, I think, 2 strands on one and 1 strand on another. But I was feeling pretty good about my cross stitching and my finishing over the last few weeks. Before we wrap up the cross stitch section of the video, we did have a giveaway last time, so I did want to talk about those winners. And then I'm actually going to do a new giveaway as well. So let's do the old giveaway first. We were giving away the winter typography, and that was this piece by Pine Mountain Design. And you can actually see this original piece right here. I think I used all of the called for DMC and finished it actually very similarly to the piece I was just talking about for the Bent Creek piece. So just a very simple, hey, look at that. It is something that you can pop in and out. So I finished that and I really enjoyed it. And so I am happy to pass along that pattern. And the winner of that giveaway was Rhonda Zamora. So Rhonda, congratulations. I always love getting your comments. You always leave such kind and generous comments. And so congratulations. Thank you. And I will get this in the mail to you. The other giveaway that we had was the Gather Round series. This is a seasonal series from Hands On Design, and it comes with multiple different patterns in each. I don't have the ones that I have stitched to show you, but really fun piece, and so I'm looking forward to sharing that. And the winner was Sky Wonder 84, so congratulations to you as well. I will get these in the mail to you, and I am excited to get to see your progress if you want to share with me on that. So congratulations to both of them. And like I said, I'm going to plan to do another giveaway because I was realizing, does anybody else have this? I have no problem getting rid of patterns that I haven't stitched and that have maybe aren't my style anymore, or I'm just being more realistic and saying that I'm not going to stitch it. So I'm happy to give it away to friends or take it to a freebie table. But for whatever reason, if I have actually stitched something, I was keeping those patterns. Like I was keeping a collection of the patterns in addition to the final piece. And I don't know why. I don't think there was any like intention to restitch a bunch of them or anything. And I very faithfully like just put them in this drawer and put them in this drawer. And I finally said, why am I doing it? Why is it that the pieces that I have actually stitched and have no future plans for are the ones that I am hanging on to more than others that I have not done anything with? So I don't know what was going on, but I've decided that I'm going to start sharing these patterns out. So I am happy to do that with for other people and let other people actually enjoy these patterns. So what I'm planning to do is just moving forward in my videos, we'll do a giveaway, and I will, if I can, I'll show you the piece as I stitched it so you can kind of see an example of it as stitched, and then we'll do a giveaway. So why not? Let me show you the pieces and then we'll go over the rules and we'll talk about the giveaway. So The first one that I want to show you is a little Bent Creek piece, and this is actually one of my favorite stitches. It is just such a tiny, sweet piece. It's stitched up very quickly, but I think I love the finish. I love the feel of it. This was a ribbon that I think I bought at Joann. And so it actually is just like the trees. And so I love the dimensionality of it and this kind of classic fabric. I just finished it as a very simple pillow finish. But I don't know, you know, sometimes you just kind of put things together and they work perfectly. And so this is one of my favorite pieces that I have stitched. I love getting it out every winter. So that was a Bent Creek piece. Speaking of Bent Creek and their snowmen, I also worked on this tiny little guy. Again, so cute, and a pillow finish with some snowman fabric. So we've got those two Bent Creek pieces. And then I am also going to give away a blue flower piece. So we've got two winter pieces and then we're heading into spring. And this one is Hedgehog and Hyacinth. So this one came out a couple of years ago at this point, and I just finished it in one of these simple boxes and mounted, so it is actually kind of lifted off of the box a little bit. But another one that I just really enjoy getting to see come out every spring. And so I'll be changing out my seasonal decor probably in a couple weeks at this point. Like, given the snow outside, it's not quite time for spring yet, but that won't be coming out shortly. And I enjoy seeing that one very, very much. So if you would be interested in any of either of those, what we'll do is we'll give away the two Bent Creek pieces together, so you can see kind of the originals with the snowman. I kind of chose my own. Oh, let me pick up the right thing. With the snowman, I kind of picked my own colors, but you can do whatever you would like with that one. So, rules of the giveaway: you have to be 18 in order to legally give me your address, and I have a two-part process. So there is something called the pen pals form in the description box. Fill out your information. It's asking for your address, contact information. No one has access to it except me. It's just that way I have the information, and when a winner is chosen, I can get things sent out and we don't have to do a back and forth. And that way we can kind of continue on with that. So if you have not already in a previous video or giveaway, fill out that form. And then you also, in your comment, will just simply use the numeral 1. So somewhere in your comment below, use the numeral 1 and you will be entered to receive these two little charts. And then if you would like to receive the blue flower piece, just use same rules and then use the numeral 2. And I will plan to draw that the last Wednesday of the month, which is March 25. So long as you have your comment in before that, you will be eligible for the giveaway. And then that way I can draw it and have it for the end of the month when we do our next regular video. So good luck to everybody. I hope that you enjoy, and I am excited to know that these patterns are going out in the world and that somebody else can enjoy them, as opposed to just the closet drawer. I still don't know why that was happening, but anyway, good luck to everybody on that giveaway. So with that, I think that was the last of our cross-stitch content for today, but hopefully you will enjoy sticking around for a few other things as well. The next thing that I want to talk about is I took a class, let me see, 2 weeks ago? Oh, going on 2 weeks ago. Rachel, who is CT Stitcher on Instagram and a fellow Connecticut Stitcher, my partner in crime running we don't really run, we set some dates, that's all we do for the Connecticut Stitching Circle group. She had reached out and said that there was a class on paper quilling coming up and would be interested in signing up. So I said, why not? So we were able to take that class together. It was just a couple of hours long at a local quilting store. And I had done quilling for literally, it was like 45 minutes, almost a decade ago. And so I vaguely remembered doing it. I didn't really remember any of the specifics, but the class was to make this this little heart. And so we spent a couple of hours. We learned various different kind of shapes and techniques. So we made S pieces, we made C pieces, we made little hearts, little just spirals, all kinds of different things. And then we learned how to make the edges of the heart and how that you could make them so that they were symmetrical. Mine wound up being a very chubby little heart, which I think is super cute. Everyone else had much more sort of elongated hearts that went this way, but I like my little chart. And then we were able to pick our own colors. It's up to you how you place the paper and how much or how little you want to include in it. And so I just had a lot of fun, and I thought this would be a great piece to have here in this room. And so I've got some green and some purple, which are kind of the dominant decorative colors in this room. And I liked the idea of having the purple over here and having it denser, leading toward the green and more open space. So that was what I was kind of going for with that, but I enjoyed it. It was really fun. I don't think I need like another hobby to pick up, but I certainly wouldn't say no to doing it again. And I figure even if all you're doing is just enjoying and trying something out, that's a wonderful thing. You don't, nothing, not everything has to be a new obsession and a new hobby. It can just be, hey, I tried that and it was fun and now I know something new that I didn't know. That's enough right there. So I had a lot of fun working on that one. So paper quilling. I also this month did a lot of crochet. I've been kind of getting back into crochet after a couple of years away, and so I worked on multiple different crochet projects. So I will show you first of all my finish. I've got a little cozy winter scarf. So this is perfect for this type of weather, obviously, where you need to kind of keep warm and have your neck taken care of and all of those things. So this was a piece that I worked on. This was in my bag of possibilities that I opened for January. This was the yarn that I had placed in there as kind of a possible project, and this is a chart that's called the Cakes to Tango. It's a crochet adaptation of a knitting chart, I believe, and I've made one of them in the past, and it's such a simple, easy um, project, but it also is a really great way to show off different yarns, which is really what I enjoy about crochet is like I don't need a complicated pattern. I want to show off the beautiful yarn, and so I'm perfectly fine with a very simple stitch and something that you can work on fairly kind of mindlessly and in order to actually show off a beautiful yarn. So I had decided to make this in a much chunkier yarn, and so this is just a great winter piece, and I am excited to have that in my stash in terms of how I can stay warm in the future. So it's just a very simple triangular scarf. You start here in the center and then you work out. And it is two different yarns that you alternate because there's so much sort of modeling and gradient between it. You may not be quite so obvious that it's just two yarns, but I think they work really, really well together. And this was a Connecticut dyer, so it's always fun to get to enjoy those as well. So that was my Cakes Two to Tango finish. And I think particularly with crochet, I am happy to have tried and true patterns, like things that you just stitch over and over again. And so after I finished this one, I started another piece that is also a Cakes Two to Tango. Let me see here. Um, I'm doing it in a different size yarn. This is a fingering weight yarn, so a slight difference. But that's what I like about this pattern is it's so versatile and you really can just use whatever weight of yarn that you want to. Haven't gotten super far in it, but something I can pick up now that I've been working on some other things. So this was a set that I got from Forbidden Fiber 2-ish years ago. It was a clue themed mystery set of yarn. And so we got one full cake of yarn, and it's this kind of mottled gray. And then we got a number of mini skeins based on various different things kind of named after things in the game. So there's Colonel Mustard, there's, Miss Scarlet, and then there's also like the billiard room, and they also added in the craft room. And so what I am planning to do is, because there is not quite an equal amount of the single yarn in comparison with the mini skeins. I'm going to do one full mini skein. I'm going to do a couple of the mini skeins just to start. And so it's going to be a little more blocky in the center. And then once I get through a couple of those, I will start alternating it with the gradient so that you do get that alternating effect. So I think that'll be great. And, you know, just a little start, but it's still a fun start. And I really do enjoy, it's just a beautiful kind of gradient in that yarn. So a great little project to be working on. And I've also been working on one other crochet project, and that is my first blanket. I have never made a crochet blanket before, but I decided, why not? I have plenty of yarn. I want squishy cozy blankets. Let's make some blankets. So this whole basket is full of various different kind of red and blue and green and gold yarns, also in mini skeins. I love mini skeins. I love gradient yarns, so I am a sucker for those at any time. And now that I am doing this, let me see here. There's my stitch. I need to put a stitch marker in so I don't have to lose this, but I had been kind of hesitating to get started on my blanket because the thought of doing like 6 feet of a foundation row in order to get started was really intimidating and not something I was looking forward to. And so I was reminded that I had come across a corner to corner piece. And so with that one, what you do is you just start in one corner and you gradually grow it out, and then eventually you will do a decrease. It does mean that you wind up with a square blanket as opposed to a rectangular blanket, but I don't care. That's fine. You know, the intention of this is that they're going to be snugly throw blankets. They're not like to be on a bed or something, and so I don't think the shape of it matters. And so again, what I'm doing is just kind of working my way through the gradient yarn, and these are actually the same stitch. I really love the moss stitch, so I've been on a moss stitch kick recently. So at this point, I'm working on my third of the colors, and as the blanket gets larger, obviously the sections of color will get smaller and smaller because you're just increasing your size as you go. But, you know, at the moment, you could say it's, I don't know, a kerchief or something like that. But eventually it will be a blanket and something snuggly. And so it's, you know, one of the things I really like about the moss stitch is it's really warm and tight, but at the same time, it isn't super solid. Like there is still some space in between. So I am enjoying that. Just a very simple kind of mindless project that you can work on. And I'm just using up each of the yarns, and when I get to the end of that one, wherever it falls, I'm bringing in the next one. So the color changes are maybe happening mid-row or something like that. I have no problem with that. So I have got a lot more yarn. There's a whole other layer of yarn under here as well. So a ways to go, but a great just kind of sit and watch TV project. So I am excited to be working on that one. And once you get started, you can whip through a couple of rows pretty quickly and before you really even realize how much you've been working on it. So that is my crochet blanket. The last thing is not actually progress, I would say, but I've made a little bit of progress. So in my bag of possibility for February, the yarn that I had put in there was this little mini skein of pink yarns, and I pulled it out and I put it in the bag knowing that I wanted to use it, but not knowing what I was going to do with it. And this is really not that much yarn in terms of making something. And so I was thinking about what I wanted to do with it. And I took another pass through my stash to see if there was anything else that would go with it if I wanted to make a slightly larger project. And I came up with two ideas. One is this fingering weight kind of denim blue, which I thought really goes with those pinks as a contrast. So I've got that one. And then I had pulled out, I had got this skein of yarn a couple of years ago, and it was one of those skeins that I loved when it was in the hank, but when I started stitching with it, I was getting a lot of kind of pooling and not necessarily, it wasn't kind of coming out the way that I wanted. So I started multiple projects with it. These are all fingerless gloves. I made one glove, part of another glove. This is actually a set, I guess. So part of that one, and then I decided that that wasn't working, and so I started this other pattern, which I have made before. And I do like this one better. I like that there's sort of pockets of the colors rather than rows. But even so, it wasn't like really working. And so I kind of had stopped using it. But I did realize that the colors go very well. It's almost an exact match of one of these. So I'm thinking either those will all go together or potentially all three of them will go together and probably make a cowl with that one. So let me know what you think. Do you think I should just use the gradient yarn with the modeling mini skeins, like kind of alternating, maybe one solid, the model, solid model? Should I bring in the navy blue, one or the other by itself or with the others? Let me know what you think. I haven't quite decided yet, but I do feel at least I'm accomplished in that I have picked out a couple of other yarns that could go with it that would allow me to make a slightly bigger project. Still probably going to be a neck or, cowl or something like that. I do enjoy those. So let me know in the comments what you think. All right, let me see. The other things that I worked on in terms of sort of handicrafts is my Lego pull from my bag of possibilities. And those of you who watched the last video will remember it was a super tiny set, so this did not take me very long, but I've made it. I've done the entire Millennium Falcon. It was so much work, so many pieces. No, this is not the large sets of Millennium Falcon. It was just really cute. It was super easy. It's great. I'm going to set it on a shelf. It's going to be wonderful. So that was my Lego project for the month. Let's see. Okay, I've got my bag of possibility from March, so I'm going to open that, but I'll do that at the end of the video. The last thing that I want to talk about before I do that is the book talk section of the video. And in this case, I don't actually have any books to show you. I have something else. So these are series of maps that have been created related to mostly literary people from England. There are a few other kind of variations on that, but most of them are about kind of famous literary people or events or series from British literature. And these are produced by Herb Lester Associates. I had come across them online, I think, and I really enjoy the things that they have produced, but they're not easy to come by in the US, at least when I had looked before. And when I was traveling in England in January, I came across the Agatha Christie one in a bookshop, which reminded me of these. And so I had to buy that one. And so what it is if you actually open up these packets, they have created an entire map that is related to like the locations that are in that kind of theme. And so if you open it up, you can see, in this case, it's a map of England on one side, and then there's labels. And on the back, you actually can read all about all of the fictional things from Christie's writings and also places that she lived in real life. And you can map them together on this custom designed piece. And I just thought that was really fun. They're well designed. They're like nerdy in such a great way because, oftentimes authors, they're writing about real places or they existed in real places that you can still visit, but you also kind of want to know how are they related to each other, or maybe they were writing about a real place but they've given it a fake name, or they've changed the details a little bit, or there's speculation on whether or not it was a real place or not. And so this series just kind of takes all of that into account, and they make some guesses, and some of it is like, this is exactly where this was, or this is our best guess for what this is, and then it turns it into this just enjoyable little map. So I picked that one up. And once I remembered that, I started looking for them in any other bookshops that I visited. And I was also able to come across the Ian Fleming's London. I've just enjoyed the James Bond series for a really long time. And so I picked that one up as well. It's very similar events or locations, both from the Bond stories and from Ian Fleming's real life, which is in some ways kind of a Bond story itself. So lots of different things. There are quite a lot in the series. I did not find the John le Carré London or any of the others, but I did discover that in the US you can get some of them from Barnes and Noble online, and so I was excited to learn that, and so I ordered my most recent one, which was just released, I believe, very shortly within the last few months, and that's Dorothy Sayers' Britain. I love Dorothy Sayers books, and so I was very excited to get that one as well. And this one I might actually frame and hang up. I have in my snuggery, which is where my TV is, and I do a lot of my crafting. I was thinking I'm going to design or decorate with some literary maps, and so this would fit right in. So I'm thinking that this one might actually become some wall decor. But anyway, so if you're kind of that nerdy geography and literature nerd like I am, I would definitely encourage you to take a look. It's the Herb Lester Associates. It's just herblester.com, and you can go on and see things. They've got all kinds of interesting things, some of which you can get through Barnes and Noble. But anyway, I just wanted to show those off because I thought that they were a really neat and unique tribute to some of the literature that we enjoy. So that was my reading suggestion for this video. All right. With that, I think it is time to open up our March bag of possibilities. If you're new, this is just something that I started doing at the beginning of the year. Actually, I did it a couple of months ago and then started opening them at the beginning of the year. And these were just curated items from my existing stash that I wanted to have some focus on, remind me of, and give myself some choices in some crafting that I might do that month, while at the same time saying, it's perfectly okay if I don't get to some or all of these. It's just a way to kind of hone my attention in on things for a few weeks that you might otherwise kind of forget about if you're just looking at the vastness of your stash or collection. And so I've put together these bags and then we open them up together. So, all right. And I'm not sure I'm going to even be able to show this to you because when we do this, this is quite a large bag. I had picked up just all kinds of random bags, and so the cupcakes have no significance. They're just what I happen to have packed for March. All right. Okay, so the reason that this bag is so large is because of my Lego set, and that is the typewriter. I have had this for a couple of years, and I made sure that I got this set when it came out, and I worked hard to get it. And then I haven't put it together, that's the story of so many things, right? But that's the whole purpose of the bag, is to bring these things back into focus. And it is, as I remember, a functional typewriter in the sense that you can actually press the keys and some things like that. So it does work to a degree. And so this thing is going to get done. This is such a great piece. So I'm excited about that. But I have to tell you, this is hefty. All right, let's put it over here. So that's our Lego set. And just as a reminder, that's in comparison with last month's piece. So you never know what you're going to wind up with. All right, what else have we got in here? Okay. Yes. I have said that I'm going to try to become a puzzler. And so this is one of the puzzles that I have picked up in order to help me with that. I have not put together any of the puzzles so far, so I'm hoping that maybe this month will be my month. I really like, and it's very fitting because it's Jane Austen's, 250th? And so that will be a really cute one. And I like the fact it's 400 pieces, which is not that many. And I love the fact that it's this landscape. It's a very unique size. So there we go. That's our puzzle. What I have been thinking is part of the, not the problem, but part of the thing that stops me working on Legos and on puzzles is I typically have been doing all of those at my dining room table, and I don't have room to have all of them out. And so if I'm working on my Legos, that takes over the table until it's done. Or if I'm working on a puzzle, it takes over the table until it's done. And so I finally thought, I don't have to do them at the dining room table. Like, I have an entire guest room that doesn't get used all that often. I could set up, I could do my Legos at the dresser. I could do a puzzle, da 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 da. So that I think is what I am planning to do, is set aside a couple of little spaces within that room, and then I can leave things out and go from there. So my intention is start using that space in a different way than, you know, a place where a bed lives, basically. So our puzzle for the month. Let's see. Okay. We've got 3 books. So I had put in 3 different books every month as well. One is a nonfiction book, either related to the founding of the country for the 250th or Connecticut history. I had put in one classic British mystery, and then I had put in a young adult book of some kind. So what have we got? All right. Okay, so this is Ms. Bixby's Last Day by John David Anderson. He's an author that I read a couple of books from a few years ago when I was on a book jury for YA books, and I really enjoyed his writing, and I picked up a bunch of his books, and then I didn't actually read all of them in the end, and so I put a bunch of them in my bags. So we've got Ms. Bixby's Last Day, which is about a teacher. That one is coming up. Okay, for our British Library Crime Classics, we've got The Man Who Didn't Fly by Margot Bennett. This is not an author that I am familiar with. That's one of the things that I really enjoy about this series is rediscovering authors. So, The Man Who Didn't Fly with a picture of an airplane on the cover. Suspicious. Oh boy. Okay. All right. This is David McCullough's 1776. Another one that would be perfect to be reading right now. I might wind up pulling out the audiobook is what I might wind up doing, but that's a good choice. So lots of options for reading as usual. Let's see, we've got all of our cross stitch sets. And so what I had done is put in a fully kitted piece, I put in a Christmas piece, and then I put in another sort of classic small that I've been wanting to do. So, oh, speaking of Pine Mountain design, we've got March Snapshot. I had started to collect this series. I didn't in the end collect all of them, but several of them I really love. And I think that they would be very cute either as the full piece or little pieces. So I think if you stitched just the lion and the lamb or just the kite by itself, I think both of those would be really cute smalls, but I think it would be really cute to do the entire thing too. So that's one to think about. We've got our Lizzie Kate. I do love the Tiny Tidings, so several different options there. I have always loved this reindeer with his tiny little legs and his excitement and his scarf. Like, that is, I think, the reason why I bought this pattern, but there's a couple of those I like, so we've got that one. And then, oh, this is a Little Mill Hill kit, spring bouquet, and so buttons and beads. So great. All right, those are some good choices. Let's see. Last thing we've got in there is our yarn selection. This is a German dyer that I really love, Zauberball. And the crazy ones. I love these. And I love these. So I think you'll be surprised to know, I'm pretty sure my plan for this was to make Cakes 2 to Tango, because I think those two would go so well together, alternating. The first one that I made was also a set of their yarns alternating, and it looked so good, and I gave it away. And now I'm like, I don't regret giving it away, because I know the person I gave it to enjoyed it, but also I want one for myself. So I have been actually thinking about this yarn recently, and so I'm excited that it's popped up. I feel like I'm getting a little ahead of myself on all of my crochet projects. We'll see. Anyway, all right. that was my bag of possibility for March. So lots of things to inspire and look forward to. With that, I think I will wrap up the video. I hope that you enjoyed getting to see what I have been working on. Like, somehow the fact that it's February, I got all kinds of things done, and I am excited about that. So I hope that you're doing well, that you're enjoying your crafty endeavors. Do, if you want, remember to enter for the giveaway, 1 for the Bent Creek and 2 for the Blue Flower. And let me know what you think about some of these projects. Should I work on the crochet? What should I do with that? Etc., etc. So, all right. I will see you in the next video. Bye.